Don't you think it's time for the city of Savannah to have an honest tourism management plan? Let SCAB start paying its fair share? And the hospitality industry needs to increase its wages? The impacts of new growth should not cost residents. All local elected officials on council and commission should have term limits. We're working hard to accomplish these policies. We need your help. Please contribute whatever you can, $5, $10, or $20, by going to bettersavannah.org. Donate. Thank you.
The following show and broadcast is a production of Better Savannah, an independent expenditure committee dedicated to better policy outcomes at the state and local level. The views, opinions, and statements made by the hosts and/or their guests do not necessarily reflect the views of Better Savannah.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
John?
Chuck?
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Man?
Hey, it's another Thursday. What's up, guys? It's John and Chuck coming to you for our weekly Better Savannah broadcast. And just want to let everybody know from the jump that we're recording this during kind of our regular live broadcast time. And we're going to broadcast this a little bit live later. Some other kind of key live videos around the city tonight that we wanted some other people to get a chance to view, including a lot of our own members. So, John, we've got just a ton of stuff to talk about, but I kind of want to just start here because I was reading some comments, just about how, there's people in town who, throw cheap shots but aren't doing anything themselves. And, I just kind of take offense to that. I've been here a decade. You've been here nearly 3 times that. I think we've personally done a lot together here and are politically trying to get something accomplished.
Well, yeah. It's a big world out there, Chuck, and we reach a lot of people. 20, 30,000 people a month. And you're going to have some unhappy campers that either talk crazy or are just so blindly loyal to incompetence that they can't discern, good from bad and up from down and left from right and all that stuff. So don't take it personally, man.
Oh, I don't. I just think that, it's kind of like an attack on others too. There's a lot of other people who recognize the contributions, especially you have given to this community. And so I just want to start the show. I posted this video live the other night from the Savannahian first ever best of party, where our own founder over here, Mr. McMasters, was named Best Savannahian. So I just want to play this up at the top of the show to get started. Go ahead. Good. You want to give some context?
Give some context, Chuck.
Yeah. So, guys, if you go back to, a few, several episodes ago, we've had 2/3 of the founding editors from the Savannahian on the show, Rachel Flora and Jim Marikis, on 2 different episodes. One was Pops for Politics, and the other one is called Jim Marikis Disconnects. And it was kind of like right after the fallout. And so, if you've been in town for a good amount of years, you know that they're kind of like the core of what made Connect Savannah kind of like the alternative news source, so to speak, especially especially for their opinions. The editor's note from Jim, and so they broke away. You've seen this happen, with the Current and with Savannah Morning News, and you've seen this happen with the Savannahian and Connect Savannah, and so they just started. They're doing well. On their way to 1,000 subscribers, I believe. If you want to support, their journalism, which is independent and nonprofit, then go over to the Savannahian.com, and I'll put a link in the show notes about how to subscribe. The best of issue, which has 5 categories that were voted on by the public, including Best Savannahian, and then a ton of other just really cool, quirky things that they wrote about Savannah. That's available free on their website right now. So that's kind of like an overview of what we're about to watch. Did I get it right, John?
You did. I just want to
go ahead and add something.
Yeah, I want our viewers to understand that the Savannahian has no ad revenue. This is honest, pure journalism. It's digital alt weekly journalism, and that was a huge undertaking to reject the typical ad dynamic, because revenue is what makes the Savannah Morning News tick, pays the salaries, and makes the paper happen. And these guys just said, you know what? There's got to be a better way to do this, where we can speak honestly and accurately, and people will be willing to pay for that honesty and that accuracy. And so far, they're doing really well. I was pleased by their
huge turnout. It was a great party.
Yeah, it really was. A younger crowd, to be sure. I was just thrilled to be recognized. But good work. The pictures and the video speaks for itself, and so I just want to play this for our viewers that will view, this episode. If you haven't seen the video already, feel free to go over to that post and share it if you're on our Facebook page. I'll try to throw it up on our Twitter. I'll throw a link to it in the podcast description as well. For those of you who will listen to this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, this is John accepting the award for Best Savannahian at the Savannahian Best of Party earlier this week.
Anybody remembers this? I worked at Creative Loafing, which was the first alt weekly here in town. And thank you, old timers, old heads unite. Yeah, old timers, old school. And this wonderful gentleman worked with me. He worked selling ads, and I was editor of the paper. And I knew he was destined for greatness, because he would always come into my office and say, "Jim, why aren't you writing about this? And you need to write about that." And he was right. And today he's gone through a wonderful kind of transformation and metamorphosis. He's quite a political player, and he's a pundit, and he's just a wonderful all-around guy. And our best Savannahian award goes to the great John McMaster. And he will be happy to say a few words. More than happy.
Thank you. Thanks, Rachel, Sean, and Jim. It's kind of hard to believe, you keep doing this stuff day after day, month after month, year after year, and you don't do it, for this, but this makes it really, really wonderful. I kind of feel like Henry Fonda getting a lifetime achievement award. And I do want to thank my sponsors, Geritol and Life Alert.
Reverse mortgages.
It's been a while, but I hope you'll discover, if you haven't already, Better Savannah. We're in sync with Jim and that product, and it's just an honest, very necessary informational source, and influencing people is the name of the game. And I think, collectively we can do it. And I want my city back. I don't want 14 million tourists. I think we have too many.
Yes.
What else don't I want? I want the hospitality industry to pay a living wage.
Yes.
And lastly, Savannah College of Art and Design, and probably many of you were students there, but $400 million of property that they don't pay taxes on off digest is just obscene. And lastly, don't let anyone ever tell you the service district of the city of Savannah is 145,000 people. That's the census from 2010. We got 30 or 40,000 tourists every day. You got 11,000 SCAD students. You got 4,000 homeless. So anytime an elected official or a city staffer says it's 145,000, you just need to call them out and say no. It's 210,000 plus. So anyway, I've spoken too much. I love you guys.
You will never hear a fucking speech like that at any other Best of Savannah competition.
He's going to drive away all of our advertisers. We don't have.
That's wonderful. It's just wonderful to watch again, having filmed it live. John, I want to say, it's well deserved. You've given a lifetime of service here. You raised a family here. You built several successful small businesses here. Paid a lot of property taxes here. You've had a full career, and I think it was well deserved. And I think this iteration of your advocacy with others in the group is just a cap on a magnificent. It's a wonderful life, pal. I got to tell you that, man. So.
Yeah. Well, here's a little snippet. Maria and I went over to Bluffton to see the Anthony Bourdain movie.
Nice.
Really, really worthy, and highly recommend seeing it. And I'll tell you something. There's a central thing in that movie, Chuck, and it's the interplay between success and happiness. Okay, the two rarely come together. And when
Sure.
they do, it's a beautiful thing. And before the Savannahian award, notice came out, I left that movie driving home, talking to Maria, and going, man, I think I've been successful. I know I've been successful, but how happy am I?
Sure.
So anyway, not to belabor the point, but having that little bit of recognition from the readers of the Savannahian alt digital weekly picked me up and perked me up, and I couldn't come at a better time.
I hear you. It's tough to somebody, I'm not going to say who, but a well-placed source inside of city government that's not an elected official said to me, oh man, it's tough what you guys are putting content out every week, that's not easy to do. What you're doing is, very, very hard, very challenging, and trying to inform people, and we still got a long way to go to get better at it. I know that it's working a little bit, but it's not working as much as it could. And, we need to,
it never ends. Chuck, before we started this conversation, just 10 minutes ago, I was online watching Curtis Perttee's
Facebook town hall.
Yeah. And, he was talking about public safety and the police department and the shortages. And it's almost automatic now. I got on and I said, Curtis, please help your colleagues understand what you understand, because you're in the business, you're a police officer. It's not a 145,000 service district. It's 30, 40,000, yada, yada, yada. And he acknowledged it and said, essentially that is correct. So I guess it never ends, but getting the truth out about our dilemmas is a first good step. And so there I was 10 minutes ago, banging that tin can on another page on a guy who I think is really trying hard. So
yeah, it just kind of makes me think of that scene in Any Given Sunday. You seen that movie, John? You know that movie?
no, is that the Bruce?
No. It's Al Pacino, right? And it's a football movie, right? And he's basically talking about how life's this game of inches, and for sure in the political life of Savannah, it's this game of inches. And I think that our advocacy has spurred action of others that is producing some gains in inches. And I can tell that some people are not happy about it. And for that, I mean, I'm sorry, but this is America. This is everyone has to, come to the town square, so to speak, and argue the best argument. And sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong. And it's not like we'd stop advocating though, just because now that there's a city manager finally, or now that there's this, or now that there's that, there's always another issue.
Yeah. Well, let me sidetrack. One of my biggest challenges or disappointments with how things work locally is, when you ask a city, assistant manager or a department head or an elected official, how many people do we have in the city of Savannah that we have to provide service for? They'll tell you 145,000. Well, that's whether it's that subject or another subject. There's this tendency here to just, I'm sorry to use the word lie, but
embellish,
distort.
Distort's a better word.
Tell you, no, you're wrong, Chuck. You're wrong, John. You're this. You don't understand the problem well enough. You couldn't possibly know. And you know what? That's horseshit. Because we've been around. We know. We don't. We're not purveyors of fake news. We do our homework. We think about it very carefully, and we make very measured and I think appropriate comments and positions. And that's one reason why I think a lot of
let me just sum it up a better way, John. Like, if you're tired of hearing us talk about it, imagine how tired poor, impoverished people in this community are of living through it, because that's 50 years. So, you can always turn off the channel. You don't have to listen to this, but you can also realize that, those people don't get to turn off the channel of their life.
Well, I'm working on a concept piece that who knows, I'll probably write it when I'm out in California, but I want to talk about the myth of Savannah exceptionalism. And I won't go much more into it, but
yeah, I know you told me a little bit about it the other day.
Yeah, and I think people, once they read that, will go, gosh darn, yeah, that does happen a lot, and we don't make a lot of progress because we believe our own mythology that we're somehow a special city that's uniquely different than Athens or Macon or Tallahassee or what have you. It's like we're Savannah. Yeah, we got some uniqueness, but water still runs downhill here, and don't tell me that it doesn't.
Right.
Anyway,
right.
What do you know?
Well, I want to start. Guys, there's obviously huge news since our last episode. I know that our last episode with Kevin Grogan was controversial, very well viewed. Appreciate everybody's viewpoints being expressed. There's nothing regressive about wanting enough resources to protect your city. I just want to start there. But I think a big part of our issue is, who's paying for those resources. So, city council hired a city manager, but during their meeting, I wanted to start here, and I'm biased because I had to wait for 3 hours and 20 minutes to speak. Yeah, but it's fucked up, John. I mean, let's just be honest with you, man. They could have moved it up. They saw that there was 2 people scheduled to speak on it, and they let us sit there. So, guys, there was a city council meeting for 4 hours last week, 3.5 hours. Okay, and it was inside of it, buried inside the meeting, was a public hearing that I told you guys about on one of our other episodes. Around the tax issue, millage rate. Right? So they're keeping the same millage rate, but as we've discussed, it's going to raise more revenue. So I am making the point in this video basically about how you're raising rents on working class people, and the reason of it, John, you and I know this because of real estate knowledge, but like a lot of people don't understand. Rents are going to go up in the most gentrifying areas specifically, right? So all of the non-Stevens Day property that is in the edges of Starland, Victorian District, East Side that's being gentrified rapidly, parts of the West Side near the arena. John, you've been in this world of property taxes a long time, John. Am I wrong that out of $2 million, if it's 2 million or 5 million, whatever the number is, probably 45% of that's coming from non-Stevens Day rental property. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of commercial property, and I don't know the exact percentage of the digest that is homesteaded vis-a-vis Stevens Day, but it is a small percentage, not a major percentage. So you're correct.
Well, I mean, look, let's say the number is $5 million in new revenue to the city. I think that was something we read at some point. 5.1. Yeah. I'm willing to concede that 2.5 million of that's coming from new development, right? Like that listens to me, right? Between the hotels that just came on, right? But again, you're not accounting for the other 2.75 million. Where's that money coming from? And they don't want to talk about that. Now, I want you guys to pay attention because I have been waiting for so long. I said my piece and walked out and smoked a cigarette and walked home and then watched the rest of the meeting. So I didn't even find out Jay Melder had been hired until I actually got home and watched the rest of the meeting because I was so frustrated. Yep. But this is the city council meeting when they opened up the
finally
the public.
Imagine being a working mom. And
honestly, before I share this, John, I do think people should just imagine being a working class person who's not privileged enough to be able to sit there for 3.5 hours to wait to be able to give public comment. And I understand that they'll push back and say there's 3 meetings, but what if that's the only day I had off? Again, these arguments go down the point, they make sense. It's not about me, it's about accessibility and about obfuscating the state law. So let's watch this a little bit.
Start speaking, we just want them at the beginning to state their name and their address. Starlin, who's anybody in the chambers? Okay.
There are 2 people. Yep. Gentleman, Mr. Charles, is up first.
Okay.
I have a question for the city attorney. My name is Charles Fagan. I live in District 2 on West Perry Street, downtown.
This is a comment, sir.
This public hearing was advertised for 9:30 p.m.
It was advertised for 6:30. It was 1 at 4 and 1 at 6.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that citizens have to guess what time your meeting is going to be done in order to come give public comment. Because if I wasn't, in a position to be able to wait your meeting out 3 hours, I would not be able to give this public comment. I think, Mr. Attorney, your clients are intentionally or unintentionally obfuscating state law in order to dim participation in this public comment process. I would recommend in the future that you advise your clients to hold a separate and distinct meeting away from their regularly scheduled council meeting so that residents do not have to sit and wait and guess for 3 hours while you conduct your regularly scheduled business. Furthermore, I know I only have a little bit of time. I just want to say that you guys are raising rent on working class Savannahians today. All right, I understand that of the $2 million of new revenue that will come in from this revenue adoption, a good bit of it is from new construction. But your chief executive, or your chief financial officer rather, has made misleading statements regarding that development in public comment sense. The first project listed is the Eastern Wharf. As you know, Mr. Mayor, Council, this is a tax allocation district. You will not see any new revenue in the general fund in 2021 from this ordinance. So if we see $2 million in new revenue, about $1 million of that's probably coming from newer construction, newer development coming online finally. The other majority of the other half of it is coming from non-Stevens Day property owners. This means that small business and workforce housing rents are going to go up, right? Some 5,000 to 10,000 parcels will probably see a tax increase during this cycle, and that will be passed on to the consumers. So when you talk about affordable housing and you're going to raise rents across the city, I don't know how you square those two positions aside. I know that I've exhausted my 2 minutes. I'd appreciate if the attorney or someone would get back to me on holding these meetings outside of a regularly scheduled council meeting, because I think that discourages citizen participation. Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, we held a hearing at 4:00 p.m. This is City Manager.
Yes, sir. That's why we did.
I wanna play Michael Brown's response in a second, but I mean, I appreciate that I got slightly more than 2 minutes there to actually address both of those main issues, obfuscating, the responsibility and, addressing the issue. Go ahead, John.
If you would have been a developer, an attorney representing a developer, you would have had 15, 20, 30 minutes. So,
sure.
You're just in the wrong profession, Chuck.
I hear you, man. I should have stuck it through and went to law school, man. No thanks.
Not all pigs are equal, right?
I hear you. Exactly. All right, let's hear Michael Brown's response and then talk one more time about it. All right.
Two separate dedicated.
That's correct.
Meetings, and on the issue of the tax increase, doing the math, it's 2% tax hike for the services that we're getting, and we did not discontinue services during a recession. We did not increase water and sewer rates, we did not increase sanitation fees, but I am recommending this. I'll just do the math and say 1%, 2% increase in taxes. Yes, I believe that we're worth it.
Well, all right. So what he means, and John, I'm gonna let you respond in a second, but I just want to set this up for our audience. What Michael Brown means right there, city manager, is saying that it's a 2% tax increase, digest wide, right? Yeah. So across the entire city, it's a 2% tax digest. Now, if you own property in some of these highly gentrifying, transitioning areas, are your taxes going up by 2%? No, they're going up by 30, 40, 50% in some cases because of the big time values in the real estate market. Those increases in taxes will be passed along to consumers. It's such a bold-faced lie, really, John. It's such misdirection. What were you going to say?
Well, first I was going to say that's mighty rich advice coming from a guy that makes $240,000 a year from the city and paid by property taxes in some part. The other thing I'll say is we all know that property taxes are, I think they're 26, 27% of the total M&O budget. Okay. So when Michael Brown says it's a 1% increase to the M&O budget through property taxes, that's not comparing apples to oranges. If you look at a $5.1 million net revenue increase in a category of property taxes that brings in $68 million, I mean that's a 7.5% increase in that category, property taxes. So, before we went here, Chuck, I ranted for a minute about how they'll tell you that water doesn't run downhill in Savannah, that we're special, that we're different, that you just don't understand the facts. So
we're unique here. It's unique.
Yeah, and your understanding is not worthy. Well, you know what? I'm tired of that. That's Savannah exceptionalism. Okay, that's where elected officials, city managers, city department heads will tell you things that are just wrong, and they accept that they claim the high ground on it and treat you like you're an idiot. We're not idiots. We're smart people. This isn't highly complicated math. So that's immediately insulting, and over the long course, just abusive. And that's Savannah exceptionalism, and I'm tired of it. Back to you.
Well, I want to, as we transition, into this this kind of next segment here, the biggest news of the week, which was obfuscated, which is like, again, misdirected with all this drama and bullshit from Lou Phelps, and
oh, we're gonna have to do the Lou Phelps.
I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it. Let's suffice to say, Lou Phelps ran a headline live during the city council meeting that Michael Brown was quitting early, retiring early because of Keisha's antics, and that, Keisha had blown up at them. And the single source was Dietrich Leggett. So yeah. We got a journalist and editor in town going around publishing tabloids from one source, like a tabloid style type of headline right during the middle of the meeting as they're hiring Jay Melder from Washington, D.C. live on a 9-0 vote. So think about this for a second, John, because I want to give this context a little bit, because there's a lot of talk about family, and cohesion. So, let's take a 30-second clip here and just watch this.
I don't have friends. I got family.
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 Family. Family.
Your family. There's all kinds of family, Brian.
Disrespecting my whole family.
And now you found your family with these drift nuts.
Sinhan was family.
I'm so sorry that you ripped my family apart.
Family? Look at our family now.
I already lost my family once.
Family just got bigger. There's always room for family.
We're family.
Now, I know you guys are family, so I'm offering you a chance right now to make that family whole again.
You want to make this family whole again?
You don't turn your back on family.
All right. All right. So if you didn't know, John, there's been a lot of memes going around the last few weeks on social media making fun of Dominic. That's Vin Diesel, the actor, and the Fast Furious franchise, family, and
to do with Lou freaking.
No, this is more like on Adam Van Brimmer, and even like Alderman Palumbo, and nice cat appearance there. Sure. Alderman Palumbo and Purdy and others have said like we have to be a family, we have to get along, we have to be cohesive. Okay. Damn it, we have to be a family. So that's kind of how I feel hearing that. Yeah, I know, baby. I know. I'm making so much noise. Tell him, baby. It's bad. This is my dog in the background, John.
Well played, Mr. Fagan. Well played.
So I appreciate that, Mr. Masters there. But I just want to do kind of like a blast from the past reading piece real quick. Okay.
Adam Van Brimmer, let me guess.
You already know, buddy. You already know. Okay, John. So this article is from March 26, 2001.
All right.
Okay. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Right. Let's do it, buddy. Let's see here. Let's get some zoomsies here. Let's zoom it in for the people.
Oh yeah, won't end until 2023.
Right. Remember this. Okay. Savannah City Council devolves into ugly political power play that won't end until November 2023. Adam Van Brimmer, Savannah Morning News. All right, guys, let's get into this here. I'm not going to read all of it, but let's just have a taste for what Adam's feeling was just a mere 125 days ago, John. When Savannah politics turn ugly, the drama typically unfolds like a Jersey Shore episode. Just Pulitzer Prize lead in right there, John. What a Pulitzer Prize winning lead. It's absurd, disturbing, and often embarrassing, yet harmless. A shameless alderman compares himself to a Tiananmen Square protester. Council members publicly make public accusations of attempted headbutts and jewelry theft. Elected officials voice revisionist history narratives that are easily debunked. The mischief attracts attention for a few days, maybe more. Then the mayor and council return to the business of local government. The conduct we are now witnessing is something much more perilous. A faction of council is overtly working to undermine the city government. Okay, so this is about the hotel motel tax that a coalition of many people killed at the state legislature, and he's turning and putting it on these four women as if they alone have the power to move the delegation. Yeah. The delegation led by Ron Stevens, a member for 30 years, okay, a chair of 30 years is being bossed around by these four black women. Yeah, sell that, Adam. But it may have worked. Whatever. I don't want to read that part of it.
Chuck, it's a perfect example. I had no idea you were going to gift us this. This is Savannah exceptionalism. Okay, this is a perfect example.
Right.
And Adam is far from the oracle of Chatham Parkway. I'm sure we're going to talk about how we have a 9-0.
I can't find the older one where he wrote, because I thought this was the one where he ended with. There's another. Okay, so there's another article after the last city manager search failed. I can't find it right now. I'll have to put it in the comments. But like, he basically says how we'll never ever be able to get a good city manager candidate, and certainly will never ever get a 9-0 vote. Adam, you said on your podcast 2.5 weeks ago, multiple times, we'll be lucky to get a 6-3, maybe a 7-2 vote. Okay, I would like you, Adam Van Brimmer, to write the proper editorial response. 2 things. I was wrong. These black women led us to a 9-0 vote on a city manager search.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the reality of what happened, John. Okay, go ahead and react for me while I find the next piece.
Well, it's a crying shame, Chuck, that the mainstream media contorts the subject to meet their narrative. And this is the Lou Phelps angle and tactic. This is the Adam Van Brimmer go-to tool. And, you know, I just thank God that there are, you know, alternative media choices now between the Savannahian, All Things Relevant, the
ATR network.
Yeah. What we're doing, a lot of good little blogs. You know, the honest truth on crime in the city blog that Terry, is that her name? We talked to, you know, just wanting visitors to understand what they're really in for coming here, because you can't trust everything that's said in the newspaper, in Lou Phelps' advertorial publication, or on Visit Savannah. So I guess I'm going to take a optimistic position and say there are counter prevailing voices out there now. We didn't have this, Chuck, 10 years ago. It was a monopoly. The Savannah Morning News was the sledgehammer for the Chamber of Commerce.
And like the most honest alderman that we had was not aggressive. Like Jeff Felser was a great alderman, but he did not want to push back against the status quo too much, you know, because he knew he would lose, you know, and he ended up losing in that 3-way race between, you know, him and Regina and Edna. But I played this clip at the top of the show because, this is kind of like, I'm feeling this way too, but this is kind of part of the this is half of the theme of our show for today.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
So, it's under 5 seconds, so, it's fair use.
Just your show prep is...
I appreciate that, John. I appreciate it. I did that all today, believe it or not. All right. So, first off, this is a second part of the reading series on the city manager, okay? So, Keisha Gibson Carter in Katie Nussbaum's article covering the city manager hire is quoted as calling Jay Melder, the last hope for Savannah. I kind of understand her frustration. I mean, she's got to be beaten down and frustrated with how much bullshit they've been throwing at her lately. I prefer to call it like a new hope. We've turned a corner. But I just want to go through, because again, this is the biggest news of the week. There were 3 finalists. Jay Melder from DC, who we felt was the most qualified from the beginning of the 3 finalists being announced, is being hired. Now, Heath Lloyd is the interim city manager as of tonight. I believe Jay or Michael Brown retired today, was his last day at 5. So, we've got an interim, and I think he's getting some more experience that will help him down the road, whether it's here or somewhere else. But this is Adam's take today, or I think it was in today's paper. So, the title of the article is New Savannah City Manager Melder Must Use the Force to Navigate Challenging Council. Deemed Savannah's last hope, Melder needs to be a Jedi to deftly deal with divisive group of council members. All right. I love that. They've got the Nick Palumbo podcast, piece here. We might have to return to that later. But
I'm going to go get an aluminum cup for that one.
I hear you. We'll talk more on that later.
Okay.
Most pressing issues. All right. This is a column by Adam Van Brimmer. Started as his blog post in Town Square. You guys know it well. There's zero chance new Savannah City manager Jay Melder shows up to work in September wearing robes and carrying a lightsaber. But the man called the last hope for Savannah by one city council member must have Jedi-like powers. So, Adam, let me just stop here real quick, John. One of the reasons that these women have such a problem with you guys in the media is because, in my opinion, it's disrespectful to give a quote. You got a headline and a lead, and you won't even give Keisha Gibson Carter, Alderman at Large, the credit for the quote. You won't even give her credit for the quote. What does that say about you, Adam? One city city council member says, right? I mean, man, if that's not like a microaggression, I don't know what the fuck is. So, again, I'm just another privileged white guy pointing out another privileged white guy's mistakes. So,
okay, I want to point something out.
You go ahead, John.
Okay. Van Brimmer is not wrong that we have a divisive council. Okay, that's accurate. I can't ask for a correction or retraction or some other means of expressing that. That is absolutely correct. Here's the Savannah exceptionalism part of it. Van Brimmer characterizes shapes and fronts that these women are out to destroy Savannah, that they have Darth Vader-like, to borrow the metaphor, intentions, world domination, universal domination, and havoc. You know what, Adam? Get it right, man. They just want to change status quo. They want to change business as usual. That's their sin, Adam. Yet you think that they're evil.
He thinks they wake up every morning trying to go, all right, how can we disrupt, everything at City Hall? How can we make, their lives hell there? You think that's what they're waking up? They're just trying to hold the line.
They wake up every morning and say, how can we make Savannah a more just, more successful community with lower poverty rates, lower crime rates, and a sense of fairness and equity that's been long denied this town, thanks in large part to contorted editorialists like Adam Van Brimmer.
I want to read this next paragraph because I think it's key. Melder's approval by a 9-0 vote last week surprised, but it did say it surprised you, Adam, right? Although many watching the council meeting were dubious that all council members agreed with the choice. So that's Adam's way of saying, like, oh, I know better. Like I'm many watching the council meeting. Like that's literally what that sentence is, right?
It's unnecessary shade.
Correct. And also it's kind of like White Tower, like I have the viewpoint. Like I know, believe me. 2 alderwomen turned off their webcams during the brief discussion of Melder's hiring, and the vote came on the heels of a contentious and tired exchange over council rules around placing items on the agenda. Debate on that issue goes back more than a year. 2 things here, Adam. All right. Number 1, why are we still meeting over Zoom? If you want to say that, but you're not going to say like that we haven't had council meetings in person and the county commission is meeting in person and other government bodies are meeting in person. I don't think that's a complete contextual statement to say that as a criticism right there, Adam, without providing more context. The bigger issue here is the rules package. I want to focus on this line here. The vote comes on the heels of a contentious and tired exchange over council rules around placing items on the agenda. Debate on that issue goes back more than a year. Like, I hope that you're going to take that up, Adam. I hope that you are going to try and sell that all the way to Election Day. Because if you think that you're going to sell that to poor and impoverished communities here, I just think if you think your endorsements last time were bad, I mean, man, you're going to get them way worse this time if you dare do them. But, I just think I don't think you realize how bad of an issue that is in the public. So come on, I hope you'll keep selling it. Go ahead, John.
Well, Van Brimmer is going, he's been told to go after the minority side of council.
He doesn't even have to be told. I think it's implied. It's understood, right? It's the fifth estate, right?
Well, he certainly goes after, and correctly, Buddy Carter. So
we were talking about that privately a couple days ago, that I see this duality where it's 2 days of anti-Buddy, 2 days of anti-Keisha Alicia Bernetta, and like this switches back and forth. And I feel like in some smoke-filled editor's lounge, there's somebody coughing and going, yeah, it gives you the credibility if you attack both of them, and I do think that, I said to you a few days ago, I think that the business community is kind of tired of Buddy's antics. As everybody knows, we're not a federal PAC. We do not advocate in federal elections. We're also not regulated by the federal government. Alderman Palumbo, okay, you put in FEC links below comments of our stuff. The feds, there's no regulation, man. All right, so good luck with that. But furthermore, the rest of this article kind of goes to portray some of the Lou Phelps drama. So this part goes, by the time the city manager voted the last item on the agenda of a 4-hour-long meeting, word had spread of an ugly scene during council's executive session held earlier in the day to discuss the city manager hire. And then Alderman Leggett did request the clergy member to pray for him because of his behavior at the beginning of the meeting. It did kind of raise eyebrows. City Hall reporter Katie Nussbaum made her calls Friday to get council member reactions. You couldn't help but expect fireworks. Instead, she found a council in agreement on a major point for perhaps the first time since their inauguration. Council rabble rouser. I mean, Jesus Christ, Adam. Like the fact that you can write that and say that with a straight face.
Over
like, I want you to come to Camp Park, Jackson Park, and say that with us, man. Like, I have a crowd for you to say that to.
Come, Adam, come on this show and defend your shitty journalism. Okay, you've been asked.
Oh God.
Repeatedly, and the guy's a no-show.
Well, I mean, look, Adam, you can have John come on your show. You don't have to talk to me, man. I know you don't like me. It's okay. It's not a big deal. All right, but this is really, it's such bad. It's such rubbish, as they would say across the pond here.
You know what I would say? I would say to Adam's thesis here is number one, Adam, restore access to the agenda for 6 months, and then opine after 6 months.
Right.
Government is functioning better, or it functions worse.
All right, so this is my journalism integrity. I'll give a correction here. Adam gave Keisha the credit for this last hope comment, but not at the lead of the story. So, like, again, online journalism rules, 60% of people will only read the first paragraph, John.
Okay.
Right? So, like, again, not a lot of people are going to read down here at the bottom, Adam, and see this comment. I will say you did give her credit for it, but it's so far down the page that most people won't see it.
Yeah, well,
she gave go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Before you go, I want to dovetail, piggyback onto a premise, and that is public safety. Okay, our contention is, we're wildly understaffed, and we have this huge attrition problem that forever plagues us from getting ahead on public safety. So, accept for a minute our contention that we don't need 539 budgeted officers. We really need 600. So hire the 600, get your attrition rates down, and if we're wrong, man, I'll pack up and move back to California, okay? but don't sit there and tell us that the service area is 145,000 and we've got 3 officers per 1,000 at 539, which you can't fill, but that's another story. So I'm getting very weary and tired of this Savannah exceptionalism. Like, if it comes from the Parthenon on Chatham Parkway.
Right. The Parthenon, Jesus Christ, John.
It's gospel.
Oh,
It's not. And again, thank God for ATR. Thank God for the Savannahian. Thank God for Better Savannah.
All right, so I want to read this next paragraph and keep going. But then Gibson Carter also endorsed the hiring of Michael Brown on an interim basis last fall. The relationship between the two soured to the point that Michael Brown quit on the spot the day of Melder's hiring rather than stay on until Melder's start date. Colleagues say Gibson Carter disparaged Brown at a public event early last week and then used an insulting tone toward him on council meeting day. All right, we showed two episodes ago, John, we showed interactions between Keisha. You go back to episode 46, back in the garden, and see, like,
who put the aluminum?
Michael refuses to answer the question. Okay, all right. Where is this fucking commentary, Adam, on all the shitbag Republicans and crazy ass Democrats in Congress who get up there and wax on? Hank Johnson once said that the island of Guam might tip over. Okay, that's a Democratic congressman from Georgia. All right, like Jim Jordan from Ohio. You guys know the Marjorie Taylor Greene. I know you guys write about some of these people, but not enough. These people rail against government officials all the time. Look at Rand Paul and Anthony Fauci recently. You saw the clip that got some major media play, John. You saw that, right? Yeah. Rand Paul is giving a FBI referral to the director of the National Health Institute. That's a government employee. Guess what? The citizens of Kentucky, in their infinite wisdom, John, decided that Rand Paul would represent them for a 6-year term in the Senate from Kentucky, okay? To quote your mother, I did not put Kentucky in that position. They did, okay? Like, I didn't do that, all right? All right. I just want him to start taking on the voters, right? Like, 51% of people voted, so let's go ahead. Just start calling us idiots. Start saying everybody, I want you to start attacking the voters who voted for them, okay? Elisa Miller Blakely got the most votes in the city election, in the general election, Adam. I want you to start calling their voters stupid, because you were one step away. And I'm just tired of you taking it out on them as if they're not responding to the same voters who put them in. Well, in the same manner that anybody who's an elected official can make that justification. Go ahead, John.
Chuck, this is a device and a plan that Adam knows those numbers. He knows how popular Alicia Blakely was with the voters. He knows that Keisha Gibson Carter beat an incumbent that outspent her 50-1. Okay, they are terrified of the 2023 election, and their best tactic is to demonize the shit out of them.
Yes,
try to erode their standing. And you know what? The others, the Palombos, the Purdy's, the Dietrich Leggett's, the Lindas, they are incrementalists. They want to inherit the status quo and protect the status quo. They campaigned on being change agents.
Sure.
They have not delivered. Now, the other side has tried, much to Adam's chagrin, as you witnessed with his barbs and arrows and, ugliness, but they haven't had a chance. They're frustrated. So I understand where they're coming from, but philosophically and principally, what they're selling, I want to buy. Okay, I want business as usual
to go out the window
and adjusted, because it's a wildly contorted town with preferentialism and legacy contractors. I mean, Michael Brown, for $240,000 a year, ought to shut the fuck up and say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. Okay.
Now look, I see Fauci pushes back on Rand Paul and they get into it, but again, man, this is the job. Do you know how much money? Do you know how much money Anthony Fauci makes? I think he makes 800 G's a year. Those are those specialized positions in the government where they get the super big salaries. Ridiculous.
All right.
Let's read. I just want this last piece of is kind of him acknowledging your point. Melder's hiring signals it is time for the public to hold council accountable for results. So now it's time. They've gotten a pass because of the city manager uncertainty and the pandemic, and while the task forces did their legwork. Interested to see what legwork that is. No longer. Gibson Carter, who told Nussbaum she speaks for Alderwomen Alicia Blakely at large, Bernetta Lanier from the 1st District, as well as herself, said they wanted to select a person who will come and interject a new way of doing business in Savannah, break away from the status quo, and really have a heart for the people of Savannah.
Bravo.
I know, right? They believe Melder is that person. Key phrases in this statement are a new way of doing business and break away from the status quo. The question is, what happens if Melder's assessment of the current state of Savannah doesn't exactly mirror that of Gibson Carter's, Blakely's, and Lanier's? Will they turn on him as Gibson Carter did Brown? See that phrasing? This is bullshit. Or does Melder's hiring truly mark a new dawn for this council? One where the mayor and aldermen look for common down on difference-making issues and take action. For Melder, saving the galaxy may be easier. So, again, like I said, guys, this is kind of part of the theme of our show, playing on Alderwoman at Large Keisha Gibson Carter's comments and this article with the hiring of the new city manager, Jay Melder, as kind of our only hope, our best hope, our new hope, whatever we're calling it. I take away from the end of this article, John, Adam Van Brimmer has a fundamental misunderstanding of who and what Michael Brown is to Savannah's history. Okay? For the business elite, for the winners of Savannah, Michael Brown is a competent administrator.
That's why they brought
him. Right? Correct. And I do believe that I can't speak for Keisha Gibson Carter. I'm sure she can answer this if you guys want to get comment on it. But I believe she voted for Michael Brown because in the immediate aftermath of the city manager search fail, it was not a bad decision to bring back somebody who was at least competent. But Adam, Adam's history here is checkered. It is a mixed record policy-wise at best. Michael Brown annexed more land into the city of Savannah. He is responsible for the Highlands, being what it is today. Also, developers could have cheap water. There could have been a 10th municipality out there. Pooler could have taken care of it. We could have ignored all of that growth and let that be somebody else's problem. Instead, now we got to spend $50 million on Benton Boulevard because it's in the city, right?
Michael Brown was the city manager or assistant city manager the entire time.
Don Mendonça.
Since 1990, when impact fees were made legal across the state of Georgia.
Yeah. So Michael Brown went to a Georgia Municipal Association meeting in 1992, probably. I'm just guessing here, and learned about these impact fees and ignored that policy tool for 25 years.
Absolutely.
Michael Brown and city leadership, along with the county leadership, endorsed giving away the port to the state of Georgia and phasing out container port fees. You were there for all of these crucial decisions, bro. Like, turning on you, this line that says, "Well, turn on him," suggests that we were ever on his side. Like, why would you think we would want him to come in and push anything major other than keep the trains moving on time? Let me compare this back to what Michael Brown said to me after I gave the public comments, John. Like, he said that there was no service interruption. How many fucking posts in Ardsley Park chat do we have to read about recycling not getting picked up for 12 weeks at a time? I mean, there was that huge thing I made fun of with Walt that I've still got here in the panel. I mean, come on, guys. Okay, are you serious?
Yeah,
of course it's not even doing well. You're raising taxes. You did have a break-in service.
Water doesn't run downhill in Savannah, according to Michael Brown.
Sure.
And I won't say he personally, but what he stands for and what he protected at the peril of building a better community. I lay the 28% poverty at the feet of people with the mindset like Michael Brown and Pat Monahan, who are there to protect and enhance the legacy contractors that have run this city since its fucking inception. So
they've been winning those inches in that game for 30, 40, 50, 150 years since Sherman left. I mean, basically.
Yeah. The first win we got was November 2019 when we took out an entire city council minus